Alright, so there was some discussion yesterday about rounded billets versus these rounded billets like this, a dome shape, compared to the flattened billet like this. And this isn't perfectly flat. You can look and see there's a slight bit of roundness on that. Anyway, when you're striking with a round billet, if you strike it higher like this, then your force is going to be downward because of your contact point. You're thinking of this as a radius from here to here. So the closer to this tip you hit, the more inward force you get. The closer to the bottom edge, the more downward force you get. So it's a varying degree of angle there. Now with the flat billet, there isn't a lot of variation there. It doesn't matter if you hit up here close to the top of the billet, down to the bottom, it's still basically the same angle. It has its uses. I prefer on flat. What I'll do for platform setup on these, I'll just make me a continuous platform like this. When I get ready to, I pick where I want my flake. If I want my flake right here, running across here, what I'm going to do is come over here on this side. I'm going to take a few flakes from right here going out into this area and a few over into this area. That's where this flat billet comes in handy. It's slightly rounded there on the edges. You see that? That makes good for coming in here and grabbing a small area to take the little flakes from. See that? I'll come over here and do the same thing. Now I've got kind of a pinched area there. I'll probably trim that a little more. And I'll probably blow this up because I'm doing it on video. I'm trying to explain it on here. But there's my platform. See how it kind of pokes out there? And it's pinched this way. It's got a nice ridge to follow. Okay, so when I came down like this. I grabbed it right there with my billet. I didn't grab it up here. I didn't grab it like this. I grabbed it right there. I'll show my angle before I strike this one. And the same thing, I just took a few flakes from right here and right here to make that little bit of an isolation. It ain't got to be, you don't have to get carried away with isolation. It just takes a few little flakes. So when I strike this, there's my platform. I'm going to come in at this angle right here. That was this flake here. Let me fix it to where I can see comments. They're not showing up. Oh, there they are. Hey, what's going on, Philip? I'm probably not going to go all the way through this piece on here. What's going on, Jason? So here's a nice ridge I've got rolling up onto the piece here. So that's usually what I aim for, these high spots. See, I'll have a good spot to come across here on this. I'll have a good area here and one here. This is the one I'm going to go for first. So I'll bevel down, get my whole edge lowered to where I want it. Then I'll flip it over. I'll go ahead and grind it a little bit. Now I'm going to take my few little flakes off to each side of this ridge here. So now I've got a rough isolation there. You don't have to get carried away with making isolated platforms. Not in early, not in late stage. When you're first learning to make them, it helps to go ahead and spend the time on them. But the more you make them, the more you know exactly what they need. When I'm trimming, I'm just hitting downward on the edge like that. I'm not doing anything trying to drive flakes long distances. Just getting it all. This was a funky piece, so I was just cleaning it up. This one's pretty well, pretty low and kind of isolated, and I can get in there. Anyway, I hope that helps. I'll just blank this out. I'm not going to make a whole video on this piece. See here, I've got a nice ridge running across here. I'm just doing the same thing. I'm taking these little flakes. I'm fixing to take a few off of that side there. Here's my platform right here. That's all it takes to make an isolated platform. 2 flakes. This one, that one. And you almost can't screw up with these flat billets once you figure out your angle with it. Coming down like this. Now, sometimes I do like to come in on an angle, a heavy angle, like this. Especially if I want to get more mass into it. This is more for a peeling flake. This is more for a driving flake. This platform is nearly at center line, but because you isolate it, you take a lot of the shock away from it too. But when you do this, don't hit straight into it. You got to raise your back edge a little bit so that you don't split your biface. I'll take this one as thin as I can go with direct percussion. Just keep hitting it till I break it. See, if you were to try to hit some of these platforms with this, if you accidentally get an overbite, you're going to take a big chunk out of this edge or split your piece. Of course, that's an exaggerated billet. Even with a smaller billet with a rounded face, that's where these come in handy. Your angle's always the same. There's a quartz pocket up here. Alright, here we go. That's as far as I'm going to go with it. That's pretty thin. I'd say it's about a 1/4 inch. I could certainly take it a lot further with indirect. I could probably keep going with the direct, but I'm not in the greatest practice of going real thin with direct percussion. It's a whole lot easier just to grab this and know you aren't going to miss. I'll take a couple indirect flakes. Maybe. doing this, I'm still doing the same thing on my platforms. It's harder to see, but this is my platform right here. I'm going to run that right across this area here. If I can ever get it to focus. Deal with it. Let's just set my issue stick up on there about like that. That was that plate. Kind of dove a little bit into it. That was that plate there. That one almost broke it. Put a little fracture in there. Luckily it didn't run. Yep, I thought so. Anyway, that used to be the blade. It's pretty thin. I'd say that's in maybe 3/16 at the thickest. I don't think it's that thick. Maybe back here at the back it's 3/16. Anyway, it works great. Well, till the next one.